First, we will cover the structure of carbohydrates. Each carbohydrate contains at least one smaller single sugar molecule called a monosaccharide. The formula for monosaccharides is CH2O in parentheses times N, where N equals any number greater than 2. For example, when N is 6, it can be shown with the equation C6H12O6. This formula is actually the formula of two common monosaccharides, glucose and fructose. However, the elements are arranged differently for the two separate molecules. The combination of two monosaccharides bonded together creates a disaccharide. Two monosaccharides bond together through the process of dehydration synthesis, which creates a byproduct of H2O, more commonly known as water. Dehydration synthesis creates a glycosidic bond between two carbohydrates or a carbohydrate and another molecule that is not a carbohydrate. A dehydration bond results in the loss of water, or two hydrogens and an oxygen, when the bonding occurs. This can be shown with two glucose monosaccharides bonding. The hydroxyl groups both have one oxygen and one hydrogen. However, only one oxygen bonds the glucose together. This means that two hydrogens and one oxygen leave the glucose molecules, which results in the byproduct of H2O, or water. The disaccharide we have created is maltose. Trisaccharides are just the combination of three monosaccharides bonded together. Trisaccharides are actually a specific subset of oligosaccharides, which are 2 to 10 monosaccharides bonded together. An example of a trisaccharide is maltodextrose, which consists of 3 glucose molecules. Polysaccharides are long chains of 3 or more monosaccharides. Polysaccharides are bonded together by glycosidic bonds, which, as we said earlier, are the bonds created by dehydration synthesis. Starch is a polysaccharide that is a chain of many glucose molecules. Carbohydrates have very important functions that have to do with keeping plants and animals alive. These functions include providing cells with energy, storing energy in both plants and in animals, and helping to form structural tissues. In order for any type of food to be digestible by humans, it has to be a type of food that the body can break down into glucose. This is because, in the human body, glucose is the only monosaccharide the body uses to provide energy to its tissues. This means that glucose is the main sugar fuel source for the human body. Ribose and deoxyribose are very important to the structure of genetic material. They both also have a very similar structure, except for one difference. Deoxyribose lacks one oxygen. Complex carbohydrates also each serve a specific function. Starches and amylose work to store energy in plants. Glycogen stores energy in animals. Cellulose is important in forming the cell walls in plants. Chitin forms exoskeletons in some animals, like flies. That concludes our video on the structure and function of carbohydrates. You have been listening to the voice of John Woodliff-Stanley. This has been presented by Aaron Leidke, Natalie Strickland, and John Woodliff-Stanley. To sum up our lesson, we learned that carbohydrates are all formed of at least one single smaller sugar molecule called a monosaccharide. Monosaccharides combine to create disaccharides, trisaccharides, oligosaccharides, and polysaccharides. Carbohydrates are important in different functions that help plants and animals survive.